Now it's time for And the Winner Is Motorsports Show, a production of the ETV Live Auto Sports Entertainment Network. Get ready for 2 fun-filled hours of racing dialogue, race results, commentary from drivers, promoters, sponsors, media dignitaries, and much, much more. And now, the racing devil, Mike Neff, and the ringmaster of motorsports, Wesley Outland. This is And the Winner Is Motorsports Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the 2012 season finale of And the Winner Is Motorsports Show, a broadcast of the ETV Live Online Auto Sports Entertainment Network on this Monday night, December 17th, 2012. I am the ringmaster of motorsports, Wesley Outland, and as always, joining me is the racing devil in Kannapolis, North Carolina, Mike Neff. And we're also proud to have another guest joining us this evening, no stranger to And the Winner Is. He is a former NASCAR sportsman, crew chief, and Cup Series mechanic, and now he is the CEO of LightningFast.com, a green products company, Marcus Morgan. Marcus, great to have you back with us again, buddy. The madman is in the house.
Hey, good to be with you guys.
Green products
Mike,
company?
do what, Mike?
A green products company?
Yeah, maybe we'll let Marcus tell him more about that while we get into this 2 hours. But before we go any further, I would just like to let everybody know that tonight's And the Winner Is Motorsports Show season finale is dedicated to the memory of the 26 victims, 12 girls, 8 boys, and 6 adult women that lost their life in a tragic shooting at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Charlotte Bacon, Daniel Barden, Rachel Davino, Olivia Engel, Josephine Gay, Anna Marquez Green, Dylan Hockley, Don Hossprung, Madeline Hasu, Catherine Hubbard, Chase Kowalski, Jesse Lewis, James Mattioli, Grace McDonald, Anne Marie Murphy, Emily Parker, Jack Pino, Noah Posner, Caroline Pravetti, Jessica Rikas, Aveline Richmond, Lauren Rousseau, Mary Sherlock, Victoria Soto, Benjamin Wheeler, and Allison Wyatt. Again, 12 kids, 12 girls, 8 boys, and 6 adult women tragically gunned down by the devil, Mike Neff, at the Sandy Hook Elementary School on Friday, buddy, and it has definitely opened the eyes of anybody that has kids that have grown up, that have moved on, and even me being a father of 2 children myself, it shook the very foundation of where we live in Four Oaks to hear such tragic news. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's one of those things where you can't make sense of it. It's a waste of time to try to make sense of it because there's no logic and there's no sense to be made of it. And it's a horrendous turn of events. It is totally frustrating from a standpoint that you have innocent lives that are just beginning, that don't know evil and don't know about bad things. And some nut job goes in and takes away lives that never did anything wrong to him, never had anything to do with him. And the fact that people like that choose to take other lives before they take their own is just senseless. And I mean, I almost, as much as I wish they actually sent him off to jail just so there would be jailhouse justice dispensed on him, at the same time, I'm glad that he's gone so that we don't have to hear any more about a trial and all this junk like we're going to have from the guy out in Colorado.
Marcus Morgan, your thoughts on it. And by the way, I just want to let everybody know out there in the public that I refuse to mention the person's name because the media, all of the network affiliates have blew it up about the shooter. It's not about the shooter. It's about the victim. It's about the kids. It's about the women that protected these children, which was their solemn duty. It was about the men and women of law enforcement and the medical and fire departments whose lives will forever be tarnished and will never be the same with the images and the graphic detail that we have seen. And Marcus, he doesn't deserve to have his name mentioned on the show. He's not a winner. He's a loser, in my opinion. And what is your thoughts on it?
Well, it's a shame that a tragedy has to remind us all that evil really does exist, because we don't need to be reminded. We should know every day that there is good in this world and there is evil in this world. And unfortunately, we saw the evil rear its ugly head on Friday and take innocent lives. And, I just wish that we could all gather around and make something good come of this.
Especially during the Christmas season.
This is something that we have to realize as individuals, as families, as friends, as a nation. Enough's enough. We've got to fix this. And whether we have to put metal detectors in each and every school to make sure that whoever goes through those doors doesn't have anything, or whether we've got to come up with better ways to make sure that our mental health system is in complete standards of operation, to where people like this don't slip through the cracks or whatever. We've got to do something. I mean, inaction is the worst thing that we could possibly do right now.
Mike Neff, obviously, I know that this is a motorsports show. Yes, and we are going to talk motorsports in our season finale, The Winner Is Motorsports Show here on the ETV Network. But this is something that needs to be discussed and looked at, whether you are a man, a woman, a child, is a precious thing. And for some to do what they did on Friday is just senseless act of evil. It's the plum devil himself. But we cannot let this evil act tarnish and ruin the knowing that we know that there is a greater power above us, the good Lord above. And I am a firm believer in that, man. And I hope other people are as well. Because there is a heaven, there is a hell. Hell visited Sandy Hook Elementary with that evil person. But I can rest assured telling you, Mike Neff, that those 20 angels are up in the gates of heaven right now, as God has wrapped his arms around those children and those ladies, protecting them forever and ever for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those debates that you often have with yourself, how the good Lord can let things like this happen. And it's not necessarily that he lets it happen. It happens because it does happen. And there's nothing you can do about it. The fact is, you believe in God, you believe in the life after, and embrace the fact that this lives were cut short so that they could have a longer eternal life, and resign yourself to the fact that they're in a better place, and feel for their families. I mean, no parent should ever have to bury their child. I feel bad for all of these families that have lost their little kids, because like I heard stories of it all weekend long, that they're not going to have a prom and they're not going to have a graduation, and there's parents going home after that event to closets that had Christmas presents hidden in them that are never going to be wrapped, and if they were wrapped, they're never going to be opened. And it's just tragic. And I'll never understand, and nobody will ever understand why people do what they do. But it's a sad state, and then a indoctrination of our mental system, or our mental health system these days. I don't know near as much about it as I probably should, but as I understand from reading on some stuff this weekend, that there's a lot of state-owned mental facilities have been shut down due to budgetary issues, due to regulatory issues, and that the ranks of the mentally disturbed in the prison system have more than quadrupled in the last 10 years. And the prison system is not where mental health should be addressed. And we need to have a mental health organization, a mental health system that can help people that have the mental issues like this person had, like some of these other people have had. And I don't know what it takes. We got enough taxes in this country as it is now, but we need to come up with some way that these people can get help and that these people can be under observation 24/7, because obviously this was a disturbed person. And the fact that he was able to be out and about in the free world in such a state is what at least partly led to what happened. And we need to figure out a way to keep that from ever happening again.
Marcus Morgan, and again, as I said, we are going to discuss motorsports. We've actually got a very great finale for 2012, and it was going to be hyped up and excited, and it's still going to be that way because, Marcus, sadly, disasters, massacres, things happen every day. We can't explain it. We can't predict it. But as us being humans, we have to learn to cope with what's happened somehow, some way. Those families, those loved ones, even those children that lived but experienced such a traumatic event for the rest of their life will eventually move on. And you have to do it. Because if we don't, as American citizens, or as anybody in the world, you're letting evil overtake you and win.
Yeah, that's right, Wesley. Just like with 9/11, evil visited us, in New York City, and we had to grow the courage and strength together as a nation to overcome that, and we're still overcoming that. And that's what we have to do in each of these situations. But, Mike, let me ask you this. Do you think, and I'm sure the blame is plenty to go around, but the desensitizing of our youth has to be an issue, with the video games and just the onslaught of internet violence and things that our kids are growing up with today that we didn't grow up with.
Oh, there's no doubt the onslaught of that puts death and puts killing in a light that is I don't want to say acceptable, but is commonplace. They see it so much on television and so much in the video games. But I think probably the bigger problem over and above that is the fact that we have done everything we can from a society to take religion and specifically to take God and Jesus out of the school.
Amen. I agree. Yes.
We don't teach the forgiveness, and we don't teach loving your neighbor as yourself, because there's a minority of people that have pushed that agenda and been
Go ahead,
able to
Marcus.
succeed in getting it out of there.
Yeah, and along with that, accountability and responsibility, and that comes from discipline and, reward. You have the bookends that you have to rear a child with. You can discipline them, and you can reward them to guide them along that pathway of maturation, which everyone has to reach in order to become an adult who is responsible and accountable for their actions.
I agree. No doubt about it, Marcus. And of course, and we're going to end this subject here. I mean, I did not want to start the show this way, but I prayed about it, Marcus and Mike, and I thought about it, and this ordeal affects everybody. Mm-hmm. This, and I know that a lot of people have said, well, why is the media saying these stats and giving all the, talking about the shooter? Instead of them talking about the shooter and what his intentions were and why he went out and done the things that he did, why isn't the media, Marcus and Mike, going out and getting documentaries? And I know some of them have done it, but why aren't they going out there and they're getting stories about the kids, about the parents, what, the great things, the life that they lived, what they loved to do. One of the most heartfelt stories for me, and I know you're not a big New York Giants fan, but Victor Cruz, Jack Pino, that boy loved Victor Cruz. Yep. He wanted to be a football player. Victor Cruz was his idol. Mm-hmm. And, in paying respects, Victor Cruz put his name and put Jack Pino as my hero on his football cleats, and players put the date of the incident on their helmets. And last night on Monday Night Football between the Patriots and the 49ers, They shot the 26 flares in the air, not 27. There's so many people in the media, Mike Neff, that keep saying 27 dead. Well, you're counting the shooter. It's not about him. His vendetta was already met as soon as he went and busted through that door. It's the 26 victims. You know, the 12 girls, the 8 boys, and the 6 young ladies, the 6 women that lost their life
And that's what
in
we
this
need to
tragic
remember.
event.
We need to remember that, and we need to not lose sight of what this represents. And Mike, close us out on this. You know, what do we do from here?
I mean, that's the million.
And I know that this is an emotional subject, Mike. And I mean, I know it's emotional for everybody.
But yeah, and I agree. It's $1 million question, and everybody's talking. We need more security at schools, and we need to have more training and things like that. That all costs money, and we've got all these schools right now, especially down here in the Charlotte area, where they're
People
closing
are unemployed,
schools.
though. Wouldn't this be a great opportunity for the government to say, okay, we need to protect the kids in our school system. This is an opportunity for somebody that's trained to come in and make a living and protect and serve our children in the schools, Mike.
Right, but you got to pay for it. That's the problem. Is that we're shutting down schools and letting teachers go now. If you're going to put metal detectors or have on-site police at every place for security, it costs money. And that's got to come from somewhere. So it's a catch-22. I saw somebody had posted, I didn't get a chance to check on Snopes to see if it was legit or not, that in Texas, they're going to let the teachers start carrying in class.
Yeah, carrying guns.
That's right.
I mean, I commented to Yvonne the other night that you rarely hear about school shootings, although it did take place at Texas A&M years ago. But you rarely hear about school shootings in the South, in Texas and in the Southeast and in states, Montana, Wyoming, places like that.
Why is that, though?
I have a theory about that.
Where
Why is that,
people
Marcus?
routinely carry, and where there is a not only a gun culture, but a respect for guns. And I really think that in these other areas where these shootings tend to take place are places where the perpetrators know the odds are nobody's going to be carrying, as well as the perpetrators probably have not grown up with a healthy respect for guns.
That's right,
Marcus.
And I think I think the upbringing is something we need to look at too. Our culture has gotten so far out of sorts with political correctness and everything else that we're losing sight of how we were brought up and how our parents and grandparents were brought up. And yeah, okay, it was different times, but the fundamentals are still there. The principles that applied back then, raising a child, is still the same when it comes to those fundamentals. You have to have that discipline, that respect early on. Otherwise, they're lost by the time they're a teenager.
And by the way, in closing on this subject, before we start talking about another important subject, and I've entitled this the State of the Union Motorsports Address, and this is going to cover all topics, Mike Neff, from dirt track racing, asphalt racing, and drag racing tonight. And we've got 3 key dignitaries that are very well respected in all 3 genres of motorsports to close out 2012. With everything that's happened with the Sandy Hook shooting in Connecticut, with it being the holiday season, I felt it was best to come up with a better alternative to close out the year. And what a way to mention that than with the State of the Union of Motorsports for 2012 going into 2013, than to have the driver step away from being one from their family or friends or loved ones and doing the interview here. And, I just thought, in closing, there's no respect anymore in this world. Kids today, some kids, do not respect adults. They do not respect authority. They take it upon themselves to do what they want to, when they want to, and how they want to, and don't care how they, who they hurt in the process. Mm-hmm. And I think that also comes down, we can talk about gun control, and we can talk about, well, the teachers need to do this, and the government needs to do this, but it also comes down on the parents.
Oh, yeah.
The parents need to put an iron fist on these kids and teach them the difference between right and wrong. Mike Neff, we need to get God back in the school system. We need to have prayer. We need to have a moment of silence. We need to thank God for everything that we have in our day-to-day lives, because without that man, we don't have the breath of life. When we put our feet on the ground every morning, it's because of that man right there.
And that's the answer to what Mike was saying, because that's why you don't see it in the South or the Midwest as much, because the fundamentals and those principles of God and country are instilled in us when we are young, and that's why we grow up with a different respect to our country and to our families and to authority.
And Mike Neff, I know that in this whole year, hard to believe we're going through 1 year in the books of And the Winner Is. We've had so many disagreements in racing and conversations and talk, but I think if there's one thing to close out 2012 that we can both agree on, is what we are talking about right here tonight.
Oh, very much so. Completely agree. I don't always believe that you know what the hell you're talking about, but I'll get you slack.
Feelings mutual.
No question.
Absolutely. Hey, before we go to commercial break, I just want to do this in closing to end the subject on the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting massacre in Connecticut. And I want to read this poem. It's entitled was 11 Days Before Christmas, and it's gone national, it's gone public, and it was written by Cameo Smith out of Mount Wolf, Pennsylvania, and it goes as the following. Was 11 days before Christmas, around 9:38, when 20 beautiful children stormed through heaven's gate. Their smiles were contagious, but laughter filled the air. They could hardly believe all the beauty they saw there. They were filled with such joy they didn't know what to say. They remembered nothing of what had happened earlier that day. "Where are we?" asked a little girl, as quiet as a mouse. "This is heaven," declared a small boy. "We're spending Christmas at God's house." When what to their wondering eyes did appear, but Jesus their Savior, the children gathered near. He looked at them and smiled, and they smiled just the same. Then he opened his arms and he called them by name. And in that moment was joy that only heaven can bring. Those children all flew into the arms of their King. And as they lingered in the warmth of his embrace, one small girl turned and looked and saw Jesus' face. And as if he could read all the questions she had, he gently whispered to her, "Don't worry, I'll take care of Mom and Dad." Then he looked down on earth, the world far below. He saw all the hurt, the sorrow, and woe. He closed his eyes and he outstretched his hand. "Let my power and presence re-enter this land. May this country be delivered from the hands of fools. I'm taking back my nation. I'm taking back my schools." Then he and the children stood up without a sound. "Come now, my children, let me show you around." Excitement filled this place. Some skipped and some ran, all displaying enthusiasm that only a small child can. And I heard him proclaim as he walked out of sight, "In the midst of this darkness, I am still the light."
Amen. That's
Very
wonderful.
good.
I read that.
Tears are coming to my eyes.
Tears come to my eyes right now, as a matter of fact. Mike, I read that at about 5 o'clock this morning while finishing up some fast-track PR stuff. And I came upon this, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, in my recliner at my house, I just started crying like a baby. And just thanking God for all the blessings and for my kids that I have, and wondering Monday evening they're going back to school. Can something like this happen? But all you can do is put your faith and hope in God's hands in prayer. And after reading this, Mike, and of course we know this is not a religious or a Christian show, but I just threw my hands in the air and started praising God and thanking God for everything I have, and it just really tore me up, Mike.
It's understandable. I mean, this is an emotional experience, and you try again. I said before, you try to make sense of it, and there is none. And when you hear things like that just get down to the basic fundamentals of loving your kids and appreciating the gift of life, that when it overwhelms you, there's nothing you can do but cry.
Mike Neff, your final thoughts before Marcus. Final thoughts before we close the subject. Go ahead.
I just want to say that for all of us adults who realize that our children are our greatest assets, whether they're ours or our friends or our families, or the kids that need adoption that don't have families, any child in the world asset. And if you don't stand up for a child and help a child some days when they need it most, when they don't have anyone because they're weak and they need our strength and our help, then you don't stand for anything. And I just want everyone that can hear my voice tonight to realize our children are the most important thing.
Absolutely.
The most important thing. Not material goods, not money, not anything. If we don't have and support our children, no matter where they are and what they're doing, then we have nothing. We have no future. And I just want everyone to know that I will do my part, to have an impact because this has had a tremendous impact on me.
Absolutely. Definitely. In closing, we're going to have 26 seconds. And again, as I stated before, not 27. It's about the 26 victims, not the murderer, not the evil man. 26 seconds of a moment of silence. And then we will take a quick commercial break. John Wesley, and I forgot to give him a shout out. John Wesley, our executive producer, always a great thing he does. Thank you so much for sticking with us since And the Winner Is have merged on ETV back in August of 2012, and now we move into the Christmas holiday. And I just say in closing, don't lose your faith. Don't lose in sight of what God has the blessings for your life to become. And things happen for a reason. We can't explain it, we can't predict it, but we all know that God has a reason behind everything. And through sadness and despair, there will be great blessings and joys of life to come even after this ordeal. 26 seconds of a moment of silence in memory of those lost victims at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. We are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will go into the State of the Motorsports, the State of the Union Motorsports address. Mike Neff, I think this is a great way to close out the 2012 season with the update of where motorsports has gone in 2012 and where it's heading going into 2013. Guest panels include, along with Mike Neff, Marcus Morgan, myself, Wesley Outland, John Wesley running the boards here at ETV. We are going to have on Ben Shelton from DirtOnDirt.com, all late models all the time, to discuss the State of the Union for dirt track racing on first. Then we are going to have on Langley Austin from Race22.com to discuss the State of the Union address for asphalt stock car racing. And then Alan Phillips, a veteran drag racing announcer, will be on to discuss the State of the Union Motorsports address on drag racing. Everything, guys, from IHRA to NHRA to the top national divisions there to even grassroots divisional drag racing. I know we don't talk drag racing that much, Mike and Marcus, but we will do that here tonight. We will take a quick break. When we come back, we will go into the dirt version of the State of the Union Motorsports address here on the Leader in Sim Broadcasting and Now Reality. And the Winner Is Motorsports Show on ETV. We'll be right back. Short Range Real Estate Incorporated, conveniently located off of intersection 91 and I-77 in Winfield, Virginia.
services all of Southwest Virginia in residential, farms, recreational, and commercial properties. The company is owned by Jason and Judy Short. Judy has been in the real estate market for over 15 years and is the broker of Short Real Estate. And they have two of the top agents in Southwest Virginia. Their goal is simple: to provide the best customer service and build business on repeat clients. You can get pre-approvals in less than 20 minutes. They have many properties located on over 300 websites nationwide. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for customer service guaranteed. And guess what? Licensed in Virginia, they can show you any property listed in the Commonwealth state. They're located at 1205 East Main Street in Whitfield, Virginia. For more details, call 276-223-4018. That's 276-223-4018. Short Way Real Estate Incorporated, reminding you, take the short way home. Your only choice for online sim racing broadcast entertainment. Join Michael Keaton, Devin Sparker, Dakota Heron, Ian Flash, Matt Close, and the entire ETV Live team, Mondays at 9:20 p.m. Eastern for Real Sim Racing's Full Throttle Cup Series. From the producers of Friday Night Showdown, John Wesley and Janie Webb, ETV Live brings you the very best in stimulated non-sports entertainment every Monday night. Listen on ETV Live Radio on iTunes, TuneIn.com, and Windows Media Guide. Watch it live on the Sidecar channel. That's ETVLive-eplay.net. Hey Cowboys, J.D. Webb, executive producer for ETV Live, the leader in sim broadcasting. With ingenuity, innovation, and vision, ETV Live has set the bar in providing the best in online simulation auto sports broadcasting. Enjoy the after show, a 24-hour network featuring reruns of ETV Live top racing events, and don't miss our weekly racing series, Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series on Monday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Also catch the Friday Night Showdown, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, all live on ETV Live, ETV-eplay.net. The only choice for your sim racing broadcast needs, ETV-eplay.net. It's now time for AndTheWinnerIs Motorsports Show, a podcast about the Neff Racing Productions. Get ready for an exciting 3 hours of racing dialogue, race results, commentary from drivers, promoters, sponsors, media dignitaries, and much, much more. Now, the racing devil, Mike Neff, and the ringmaster of motorsports, Leslie Outland. This is AndTheWinnerIs Motorsports Show.
Hey, and we welcome you. Well, that would help. Hey, we welcome you back here to the December 17th edition of AndTheWinnerIs Motorsports Show. Mike Neff in the house. Mike, we ready to talk racing now, buddy, after the very emotional subject to start the show. But I felt like it warranted its need to be on the program.
Hell yeah, crank it up.
Marcus, you ready, buddy?
I'm all set.
Absolutely. Well, before we bring in our first guest, we're going to have on Ben Shelton from DirtOnDirt.com. All late models all the time, DirtOnDirt.com. Mike, what is your overall state of the union on dirt track racing, buddy? Real quick, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Dirt racing, probably as popular or more popular than it's ever been. I think we've got Lucas Oil dirt late models, probably the preeminent dirt late model series in the country. The World of Outlaw sprint cars are the preeminent winged sprint cars in the country. Outside of that, it's regional. There's big block modifieds in the Northeast. Modifieds are starting to catch on a little bit in the South, but it's a long way from taking off. In the Midwest, you have sprint cars, you have midgets, you have a few different options, but again, it's a Midwestern thing. You know, Iowa has the the nationals for the modifieds. Out west, you've got wing sprint cars, and you've got some non-wing sprint cars. But outside of the World of Outlaw wing sprint cars and the Lucas Oil Dirt Late models, you'll get people that'll argue World of Outlaw late models are right up there. But if you honestly look at their lineup on a week-to-week basis, the guys that truly travel, there's only 5 or 6 drivers that really contend week in and week out. Where if you're in the Lucas Oil Show, there's a dozen guys that could win on any given week, and it's just that much more popular. But all in all, I honestly say that dirt racing is more popular than asphalt right now because dirt racing is cheaper and it's got a more avid following, which has made it the preeminent local short track racing in the country.
Marcus Morgan.
I think dirt is very healthy, more so now than ever, like Mike was saying. I think that the fan base is growing broadly to include the female demographic, which is exciting to see. For years, asphalt racing had a lock on that growth, but I think dirt's overtaken that, and man, it's great to see it growing in every part of the country.
Before we bring Ben Shelton on, I give my take on dirt track racing. I believe I agree with both of y'all. Both of y'all have got both great observations on the sport. Being the national announcer for Fast Track and the Ultimate, I do believe that Fast Track is on the rise. There's a lot of big things going on in the Northeast. We've just signed a contract with Sweeney Cars as the official title sponsor for the Northeast Series. Now you've got the Sweeney Cars Chevrolet Buick GMC sponsoring the North. You've got City Chevrolet from Rick Hendrick Stables and Motorsports sponsoring the South. Crate racing's on the rise, Mike. I agree with you. The only thing that I would say, super late models is starting to decline. And I've seen this it's coming down to money. It's coming down to being $50,000-$60,000 for a motor, where you could pay $5,000 to get a crate motor and have a late model and go run and for still great money. People are starting to realize that there's other forms of motorsports out there that can be made a lot more income than putting so much money in your cars, like the Bloomquist and the Madden and the Owens and the Davenports and things of that nature. But I do believe super late models, as I stated, are on a struggling. They're struggling, definitely. Now this is just what I've seen in my 2012 season of going to racetracks across the country. Ben Shelton from DirtOnDirt.com goes everywhere in the U.S., and we are about to give him a call here in just a moment. But Mike Neff, super late models, they are struggling. Do you agree?
Well, I agree with you. And I did want to make one more comment that was an observation, and I think I actually started the thought process last week, but the light bulb went on after the show. We were talking about Dirt on Dirt and its overall popularity and how there's not really an asphalt version of Dirt on Dirt. And thinking about it, it came down to the fact that you do not have, at the short track level, a national touring asphalt series. You have late models down here. You have PASS that's in the Southeast and in the Northeast. You have ASA Midwest Tours in the Midwest. You got guys out on the West Coast. There's the Blizzard Series down in Alabama. You've got the Southwestern late models in the Southwest. But there's nobody that's going across the country. With Lucas Oil, with World of Outlaws, with World of Outlaw Sprints, all of those series race all the way around the country. And the only way to keep up with them, at least from the late model side of things, is Dirt on Dirt. I mean, there's, One Dirt has a little bit of a coverage on it. But Dirt on Dirt is the Bible when it comes to dirt racing with late models. And they have such a huge following, I think, because you have drivers that travel the whole country. And the only way to keep up with them is online. When you've got regional stuff, there's interest in that region, but it's not a national interest. And that's why Dirt on Dirt's got the market cornered, and I think the main reason for their popularity is because late model dirt racing is a nationwide event.
Marcus.
Well, I agree with Mike. I think that late model dirt racing is a shining example of when things work well. It really works well. I mean, the fan following, the media, all of that working hand in hand because there is a tremendous loyalty with dirt late models throughout the country.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and I won't deny, Wesley, that I think within 5 years, great late models will probably supersede super late models, purely because you're going to have far more numbers. And I think promoters are going to begin to recognize those numbers and start paying purses accordingly, which will just drive more people into it because they can get more return on their investment.
Marcus?
Well, I think that something that we will see within that years, Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the factories will finally get it and start shifting away from lining asphalt, attendances and move towards supporting more and more dirt tracks and dirt series.
I agree. And my take on the subject also is, don't get me wrong, viewers, don't jump on the bandwagon and say Wesley's talking about supers dying. I'm not saying that at all. Super late model racing will always have a place in the sport. Mike Neff, we even seen this with asphalt, with CRA and PASS and what they've done.
It's all economics.
It's all economics, exactly. But
if I can have 2 crate late models, but 1 super late model, what am I going to have?
You have 2 crate late models.
Exactly.
And I'm telling you, Mike, and I know this is a subject that we have had a strong debate over in the past. Ben Shelton, still trying to connect with him. He might have already took off to the gym. I know we had about a good 30 minutes about the subject of Sandy Hook. So if we did lose Ben, we'll get him rescheduled. But we can talk about this subject for dirt track racing because you love dirt racing, I love dirt racing, and Mike Neff, you love it as well. I just really wanted to get a personality in here to show their side of the subject, and who better than Ben Shelton with DirtOnDirt.com. Remember, follow them on DirtOnDirt.com. They'll have up-to-the-minute racing news throughout the winter months. And bottom line, what winter? What winter, Mike and Marcus? Because, I mean, I've got, a week off, 2 weeks off. The first weekend in January, we're off to Alabama for the Ice Bowl. They're down to Arizona for the Lone Star Nationals. So, Mike, it's asphalt racing gets a longer break than dirt tracks do, buddy.
Oh yeah, it's and I think it's probably partly due to the fact that dirt racing can rebound faster from weather than asphalt does. I mean, you get a rain shower that moves through, as long as it's not a true gully washer, you can be back and running in half an hour. If you've got a rain shower that moves through on an asphalt track, it's an hour and a half to get things dried out enough where you can go running. And on top of that, as we mentioned before, there's just a more hardcore following to dirt, where I think dirt fans are willing to sit out in the cold to watch dirt races more than asphalt fans will.
I am possibly going to have a substitute come in for Ben Shelton, a good buddy of mine, Tommy Tedder, the voice of the Ultimate Super Late Model Series. He works with me on numerous occasions with Fast Track and the Ultimate Super Tour. He does the announcing full-time for them. In his second year, he can tell you a lot more about the Super Late Model and dirt track racing. I got a question, though, Mike. Sprint cars. Why are they not so big in the South? Because I know there was a comment that I had made at Charlotte at the World Finals when we were talking briefly. And I said, I really have never liked sprint car racing. And it's not the fact that, and you jumped all down at me like, dude, what are you talking about? Sprint cars. What the hell is wrong with you, Wesley?
Yeah, it's because you weren't exposed to it.
I wasn't exposed to it.
Exactly.
And that's probably where that's coming from right there.
Yeah.
And Mike came to me and he said, dude, Friday night was the absolute best sprint car race you could ever see in the country at Charlotte in night one of the World Finals, and I was like, just don't get it. What I don't get, Mike, is why is sprint car racing not big here in the South? Is that something that maybe promoters need to look at doing to build the interest, like myself and many others, for sprint cars, or midgets for that matter?
Yeah, it's a culture thing. I mean, dirt is just more popular in general in the Midwest, and that's where the sprint car thing comes from. Most of the dirt racing in the South prior to the, early to mid 80s was stock cars. You didn't really have open wheel cars running down here, and so I think it's just been a matter of building a following. I won't deny that usually a good winged sprint car race will have 3, possibly 4 lead changes.
And you said that to me.
And most of the time, it's 1. Most of the time, you get a guy that takes off, leads the first 2/3 of the race, his tires go away, the guy that has a better tire selection comes by and passes him and ends up winning the race. You have that 1 lead change. But at the same time, on the late model side of things, it's not that much better. I mean, it's a good late model race. You're still only going to have 5 or 6 lead changes. And you don't get one very often where you get lead changes every lap.
Marcus?
So it's dirt.
I agree with you, Mike, and I'm going to just inject this into the conversation because I think that...
You're going to inject this?
I'm going to inject this, like fuel injection. I'm going to inject this. We can all agree that dirt is doing well in a variety of different venues.
If they could get the marketing behind them like NASCAR has had,
but I think,
and now they're struggling, dirt racing would take off. Well, I seriously believe that.
I think that right now a barometer that is showing us, that dirt is alive and well and growing and all that is the fact that the truck series is coming to dirt. I mean,
yes.
I mean, what the heck? What do you guys think about that? I mean, NASCAR's coming to dirt next year with the truck series.
Eldora Speedway. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, dude, I mean, I've been screaming for dirt for a long time, and we all know that we're never going to see a cup race on dirt again, but I pray, I hope, and I pray that they bring in the best of the best to prep that track for that truck race so that we get a bottom groove and a top groove. Because if it is locked down around the top, like the Prelude was year before last, it will be the most boring show ever, and we'll never go back to dirt again.
I'll say this much. In defense for Eldora Speedway, I've announced out there, I have great relationships with everybody out there. You've got Roger Slack, the Pyro Man. This guy got brought in from Eldora to come to Charlotte to shoot the pyro off at the World Finals. They brought this man in from Ohio to North Carolina.
They were awesome.
But, of course, Roger was a backbone at Charlotte for many years with Humpy Wheeler, his mentor.
I love some good pyro. How about you, Mike?
Absolutely.
Oh, God,
definitely. Nothing exciting like blowing stuff up.
They blow it up at the World Finals. That's the 3rd year in a row that they've had that enormous explosion.
I could feel the heat no matter where I was, man. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, we
were in the booth, and when they
box.
shot off the gas cans, it was like the booth literally shook, like you thought it was an earthquake. But that's things you've got to do. Me and Stan Lester were talking, founder and CEO of Fast Track, and he said, this is every race promoter's worst nightmare to come to Charlotte to the World Finals because they see 30,000 screaming fans, they see the atmosphere, they see the fireworks, they see the pyro, they see all the ingredients to make a racetrack successful. But what people don't realize is that Charlotte, that's the big one. That's the granddaddy. A lot of people say that the World Finals is starting to become the Daytona 500 or the All-Star race for NASCAR.
Right.
Ironically, Charlotte, the NASCAR race, All-Star event is in Charlotte. But I will say, back off subject, back on it again, in defense for Eldora Speedway. Tony Stewart owns that track. Every time I have ever been out to Eldora, with the exception of running the Dream 100 in 2010 in the daytime, the track is always in immaculate condition, in great shape. Larry Bowes, Larry Kemp, everybody out there does a superb job, and I promise you, and I can say this, And I'm pretty certain if Tony Stewart was listening, he would say, amen, Wesley, back in the statement. Tony Stewart will have all of the ducks in a row with Roger Slack and company. That racetrack will be more immaculate in racing condition than it's ever been ever in the history of that racetrack. I believe that.
I agree.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it will be, but I'm just saying, the Prelude outside of the World and the Dream was like the number 3 biggest event they have year in and year out. And in 2011, that track was slicked off and locked down at the top.
Let me defend
qualifying.
this, though. You're right. You're right, but let me say this because I was at that event. It rained. It rained, Mike, till almost 3:30, 4 o'clock on that race day before they even made the decision to get that track prepped up and go racing. Listen, here's the thing. A racetrack for dirt has a mind of its own. It changes just like asphalt does. Mm-hmm. When you a prime example, Mike, and you know this, Marcus, as well as you do as well. A prime example of this is the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte for NASCAR. You start the race in the midday of May. It's 90-something degrees outside, Mike. All of a sudden, you go into that transition period where you go from the sun setting to dusk to darkness to full darkness, right? 10, 11 o'clock when that checkered flag falls.
20 degrees cooler.
20 degrees cooler. Yep. The track tightens up. The cars tighten up. Everything changes on that racetrack and on those race cars. And all of a sudden, you know, the crew chiefs, the team members, they've got to hit the right setup. The same thing happens with dirt track racing. The weather's got to be in the favor for the dirt track. The conditions, the temperatures have to be in the favor of the dirt track, Mike Neff. And when the weather doesn't cooperate, you got to give them an A for effort. But sometimes it can screw up an event.
Oh, I agree, but it's, like I said, I have no doubt that Tony's going to throw everything at it that he can. But they just they need to be working that track for 2 weeks before that race starts to make sure it is as perfect as they can make it.
And I think they will. Marcus?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Mike. What do you think the option is if it doesn't work out like they hope?
If it turns out to where it either glasses off or it's so heavy that it's either locked down around the top or locked down around the bottom, we'll never go back to dirt again. You'll never see a national touring race on dirt again because it will suck. It'll be a parade. There might be one pass. It's going to be terrible. But
so you think this is a one-shot deal for all the marbles, whether NASCAR races on dirt past 2013?
I do. I think if it's a great show, I think you'll see dirt races for nationwide and for trucks and eventually get 3 or 4 of them on both schedules. But if it's terrible to where fans are all like, this stinks, it'll be the death of it. Because you're going to have, and I don't know how many seats they're going to bring in. I'm guessing you're going to have somewhere around 60
Eldor
to
can
70.
already sit at most 25,000 fans.
Yeah, I think you'll probably have 60,000 people there. Even if they don't have seats for that many, I think you will. If they could bring in and get 200,000 seats erected by next July, they'd fill it. But the thing is,
no doubt.
The people that are there are going to be there. It's the people that are watching on TV that are not dirt fans, but that are racing fans, that are truck fans or NASCAR fans, and everybody, they've had friends that have talked about we want to see dirt and all this, are going to watch it to see what it's all about. And if the race is great, they're going to be hooked. But if the race stinks, all those quote-unquote casual fans that NASCAR's always chasing to the death of us, they'll be turned off, and NASCAR will be like, we gave you your shot, and it's just not going to work for these. And it'll be a built-in excuse for them. They can say these vehicles just don't work on the dirt, and we can't go back and do it again without building purpose-built cars, and the teams can't afford it. So that'll be their out. But if they can have a great race with their current cars, it's going to be awesome.
So, do you think that the trucks are going to look much different at Eldora than they do at any other track, by way of maybe a larger rear spoiler to have the grip that they need to make that happen?
They actually
don't
had a
know-
test session back at
I
Eldora.
don't know that they
before-
have determined for sure what the rules are going to be. I wouldn't be surprised to see them have a little bit bigger spoiler. The other thing I had heard that they did at the test, that
Yeah,
they
that's what I was
were
going to say.
that
Yeah.
they were trying out was a 3-link rear end, which right now you just run truck arms, and a 3-link, it makes the car handle different, and it would I think it would make it handle a little better on dirt. So if they open up those rules to allow that without getting crazy, building in the movable axles and all that kind of stuff, I think it could make the show better without having to do purpose-built cars.
So we're getting back to old school then, aren't we?
Yep.
Absolutely. And by the way, to answer some of your questions, they had a test back in mid-September, October. It was a private test session. Nobody knew anything about it until
Right.
it went viral that they were running at Eldora.
Right.
There had been numerous talks with NASCAR and Roger Slack and Larry Bowes and everybody at Eldora to plan this Camping World Truck Series event. But NASCAR stepped up and they said, look, let's get two of the best drivers out there that run both dirt and asphalt. Let's get Tony Stewart and let's get Austin Dillon. And they both got out there. They both shake the trucks down. They done the 2-truck tandem deal. They done the separate runs. They did the mock qualifying. They did everything they absolutely could to see what type of results would come from it. And the overall consensus from everybody was they absolutely loved it. Tony Stewart says, I wish that they put trucks on dirt years ago. So it's going to be exciting.
Is there video?
And you
of
got
that
guys
test?
like, yes, you can go to YouTube.
Oh, yeah, it's on YouTube.
You can go to YouTube, you go to EldoraSpeedway.com, click on the YouTube videos, and you can see it. But you've got guys like Scott Bloomquist, Jimmy Owens, Chris Madden, drivers that actually run dirt super late models that have actually let other NASCAR drivers drive their dirt car for the prelude. Well, now they're saying, okay, let's return the favor. So, like, for instance, Kyle Busch is now letting Scott Bloomquist drive one of his NASCAR Camping World trucks. Jimmy Owens is going to be hooking up with, I believe, Earl Pearson Jr. and flip-and-flopping, or Jimmy Owens is hooking up with Bobby Labonte and flip-flopping those car positions, and you'll see a lot more. By the way, I don't want to get off this. We got to end this subject for dirt late model racing because Langley Austin from Race22.com is up next to talk about the asphalt State of the Union Motorsports Address for 2012 going into 2013. But, Mike, Scott Bloomquist, he's a good friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years. But this will be the first time in almost 20-plus years, Marcus, that he has ran a NASCAR event. I have no right to say it. I'm not judge or jury on what his conviction was, but supposedly he had a allegedly cocaine type of issue that got him banned from the sport of NASCAR. I don't think it was never proven, but due to the allegations, he had to step away from driving in the NASCAR car. Now he is going through the substance program. He's going through everything he's got to do, Mike Neff, to get his NASCAR license to run that event at Eldora. Because if he doesn't, he can't run a NASCAR event.
I never thought about that. That is a very interesting twist. Huh. One thing that a lot of people aren't thinking about on this deal is that the truck field is 36 trucks. They still have a rule that 30 of them are locked in based on their.
And that's ridiculous. I really believe, Mike, they should do just like Eldora does. They need to qualify, and then you run heat races.
But that's the way, and that's where I'm curious how this thing's going to play out. Because right now, the way the rules are, if they do normal qualifying, you're going to have a whole bunch of these quote-unquote dirt ringers come in here and be fighting for 6 spots.
Marcus Morgan.
That was going to be my next question, Mike, is how are they going to merge, which my guess is that's what they're trying to do, the dirt and the asphalt worlds together.
Well, and
I hope.
yeah,
I hope
think
they
what they're
don't make
gonna
it like
do-
a asphalt session where you qualify, the top 30 are locked in, top 6 are locked, 36 are locked in, and do it like an asphalt event. Because if they go that route, it's going to entirely screw up the entire sequence of the event. They
Well,
need
not
to
only
do
that,
it like
you're going to have people like Jennifer Jo Cobb trying to run on dirt. And God knows she's slow enough now on asphalt. You put her on dirt, she will be a menace.
that's wrong.
But no, it's not. It's completely right. And I mean, she's a nice
Sounds
person.
like
don't
Danica
get me
Patrick
wrong,
at the Prelude.
But Danica Patrick would run rings around Jennifer Jo Cobb on dirt. I'm telling you. But the thing I hope they're going to do, and it would not surprise me, is that they will have a regular qualifying session and qualify them into heats. And then they're going to run the heats to determine who makes the feature. And that way, your dirt guys will get slotted into heats and can race their way out of the heats to get into the main event.
Here's what I'd like to see, Mike. I think every fan out there that is rooting for this cross-pollination event.
Cross-pollination!
There you go. That's a good word, right?
That is a great 50-cent word right there.
Yeah.
What did you say, Mike?
That is a great 50-cent word right there. Technically, it's 2 words, but
There's a hyphen.
I'm going to try to
has
figure out a
hyphen
way
in
to
there.
use that in one of my press releases one day.
But I think what every fan who is waiting for this opportunity really wants is the best vehicles running the race. The feature race has to be the best of the weekend. It can't be someone who made it because of the top 30.
Right.
It's got to be
Yeah.
the best vehicle, the best driver paired together.
If they don't
do not wanna
if
see
they do
Norm
not do a
Benning.
dirt racing segment format, they have screwed up the entire show at Eldor.
yeah, I do not want to see Norm Benning and Chris Lafferty and Jennifer Jo Cobb running the main
Who are
event.
you talking about? Norm Benning.
Yeah, Norm will be in the top 30 in points by the time July rolls around. Because he shows up every week. There's only 20-some trucks that show up every week.
You got to admire his spirit,
You're not
though,
very
right?
nice today.
No, I'm serious. God bless Norm. I give him all the credit in the world because he's out there chasing a dream and running, and he runs full races. He's not starting parking.
What about
But
Joanna
he's-
Long? What if she makes it?
He's running full races, and he's running 12 laps down at the end of the things. I think
What about
Joanna
Jo-
would give him a shot. I don't know that she's ever run dirt, though.
She hasn't. She's never ran dirt before.
Yeah. So
What
I
about
think we
if
need
Danica
more of
was
them
in
to
a
get
truck?
out to Millbridge Speedway and get
What
their
if
dirt
Danica
played.
was in a truck, Mike Neff?
Come on.
It'll
We need more females out there running. We need every female driver that is in dirt to come to the Eldora event and just give it the best that they've got, because it would be great if half the field was women and the other half was men, don't you think?
Just if you could just prove that Danica Patrick ain't as big
I
as
don't
she says
think
she
there's enough dirt women out there to make half the field. I don't think you can
That's my
find
point. We
15
need
dirt women out
more
there
women
that
in
can do
dirt, don't you think?
it. I think we need more people in general in dirt. I mean, but yeah, I'm all for it. I think we need more women in dirt and in asphalt. We need more
Ding,
women
ding, ding,
racing
ding.
in
Ring the
general.
bell, John.
Ring the bell.
This match is over. Ding, ding.
I'm game for
Ring
that.
the talk.
But like I said,
Enough,
it's,
Mike.
I honest to God, I think there's multiple.
I said enough.
There are multiple things that play in this deal. I think you're going to
This
see.
is like
heat,
a presidential debate. He
I
won't
think
shut
you're
up.
going to see heat race qualifying, and they're gonna run heat races to determine who goes into the feature, and within a couple to 3 years, you're going to see heat races for truck races and nationwide races every week.
Okay.
And they're
All right,
going
ding,
to
ding,
let
ding,
the
ding, ding,
fans
ding, ding,
take
ding.
that in, and before long, you're going to see the same thing at the cup level.
Absolutely. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. You're done. I'm the moderator, whatever you call
The
it.
moderator.
You're the meter maid? Wesley Outland, the meter maid of motorsports. We have an official new name. The meter maid of motorsports.
That is so wrong.
That is great.
phenomenal.
I can't let
That
him live that one
is
down, can I?
Perfect.
Shut up, Mike.
The meter maid of motorsports.
I'm eating my pretzels.
I'm getting shirts made up. That is perfect.
No, you better not. I'll
That's
sue you.
fantastic.
The meter maid of motorsports. Oh my God.
That is
Where's
unbelievable.
my freaking computer? I gotta send out a freaking tweet.
Let that go viral, shall we?
No, you better not. You better not.
Wesley Outland, the meter maid of motorsports.
Wow.
Coming to a racetrack near you soon.
Let's go to a commercial break, John, because this is going nowhere. When we come back, Legley, would you shut up, Mike? I'm about to boot his ass from the server. When we come back, we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to have on Legley Austin for Race22.com. Mike Neff, meter maid here. Did you let Legley know he was next?
I sent him a text message. Wait a minute. I didn't get a response.
He did respond?
He said
Hey,
he was
the
in
meter
a bad
maid will be
cell
right
area
back
and
after these
probably
messages.
cannot talk.
Do what now?
He is in a bad cell area and probably cannot talk.
Well, we'll try to do the best we can.
So we'll just make it up on asphalt, too. We did fine on dirt. We can do asphalt, too.
Well, let's just try to call Langley and see what we can do. We'll take a quick break. Langley Austin, Race22.com. If not, we'll talk asphalt racing. And, of course, in the final segment, Alan Phillips, longtime veteran drag race announcer, will discuss the State of the Union on drag racing. Do not go anywhere. Man, what a great finale of And the Winner Is Motorsports Show. Merry Christmas to everybody. We love you all here at ETV. And we'll be right back with the Asphalt State of the Union Motorsports Address here tonight on And the Winner Is.
ETV Live, always pushing the bar just a little bit further, is proud to introduce ETV Live Radio, supported by the HD Radio Network. ETV Live Radio features classic rock every hour, every day. You can also catch live events such as Race Day broadcast right from the booth. Open Paddock Live at 9:30 p.m. Tuesday nights. The Pit Report on Friday nights at 7 p.m. ETV Live Radio featured in the sports section of iTunes. Get the mobile app from TuneIn.com and look for us on Windows Media Guide. ETV Live Radio on the HD Radio Network. Hey, JD with ETV Live Radio, your source for online autosports entertainment. Tune in every Monday night at 6 p.m. for 2 hours of And the Winner Is Motorsports Show with Wesley Outland from the Fast Track Racing Series and Michael Neff. They bring you the down-home local asphalt and dirt track racing from go-karts to go-fast, late model, and everything in between. Local results, interviews, and more. ETV Live Radio. Look for us on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and Windows Media Guide. You can also find us at etv-eplay.net.
Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, conveniently located off of intersection I-81 and I-77 in Wytheville, Virginia. Services all of Southwest Virginia in residential, farms, recreational, and commercial properties. The company is owned by Jason and Judy Short. Judy has been in the real estate market for over 15 years and is the broker of Shortway Real Estate. And they have two of the top agents in Southwest Virginia. Their goal is simple: to provide the best customer service and build business on repeat clients. You can get pre-approvals in less than 20 minutes. They have many properties located on over 300 websites nationwide. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for customer service guaranteed. And guess what? Licensed in Virginia, they can show you any property listed in the Commonwealth state. They're located at 1205 East Main Street in Wytheville, Virginia. For more details, call 276-223-4018. That's 276-223-4018. Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, reminding you, take the short way home. Welcome back to And the Winner Is Motorsports Show, the December 17th edition, and the season finale of 2012. I am Wesley Outland, the ringmaster of motorsports, not the meter maid. Joining me, as always, the crazy, vindictive, spiteful, hateful racing devil himself, Mike Neff. All right, Mike, are you there? I guess
I'm here. Sorry.
I was looking for your...
I was trying to read a response to the meter maid of motorsports.
That is so wrong.
Oh, that is so right. It could be no writer, I'm telling you.
Last song for the year for you, buddy. And also joining us in the program is the Madman. Former NASCAR Sportsman Crew Chief and Cup Series mechanic, and now he is the CEO of LightningFast.com, a green products company, reminding you to go green to win. Go online to LightningFast.com. Follow him on Facebook and Twitter. Madman Marcus Morgan. So you've got the meter maid. Ding, ding, ding.
Check those meters. Make sure they're paid.
Oh,
I'm
this
sorry,
is so
sir,
wrong.
That will be another quarter.
Shut up, Mike.
Please have.
Please have exact change.
Okay, let's give Langley Austin a call because this is going nowhere with you two misfits.
Misfits.
The Misfits. The Island of Misfit Toys. I'm
Yes!
missing that. That's on.
Yeah.
We're just a couple misfits. Nobody calls us misfits.
If you want me to kick him from the server, say aye.
Nickname is the meter.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Wesley Allen has a new nickname. He is now the meter maid. Where did that come from?
You said
I didn't come up with it.
You did.
You did too. You
did.
said
Words
meter
came out of
maid.
your own mouth.
I did not say that I was the new meter maid of motorsports.
Well, I think you
called
stumbled
yourself a
little bit.
meter maid. We expanded it to meter maid of motorsport.
No, I know, damn it. I said
But you called
meter-rater,
yourself-
moderator.
Meter-rater.
You took it and blew it out of
You
proportion.
said meter reader, I believe was what you actually said, which a meter reader is a meter maid. So we just expounded from there.
David Allen, go to ETV to listen. David Allen wants to know. Give me the details. We're going to call Langley Austin real quickly. You have now 1 minute, Mike Neff, to give your thoughts on the State of the Union for Asphalt Motorsports. Go.
State of the Union for Asphalt Motorsports is in flux as we speak. There's several well-known, prominent racetracks that are struggling financially. It seems as though more and more tracks are cutting back on dates and running bi-weekly shows. Some tracks are only running touring race shows. The focus seems to be on making money through the back gate rather than the front gate, because I personally think promoters are lazy and they're not willing to put the work in to get the people in the seats. As a result, asphalt racing's in trouble, and the potential is there for there to be some good results and some good places to see races.
10
But
seconds.
right now,
Time is
I
up.
think it is struggling because promoters are too lazy and don't want to put the work in that the dirt promoters do.
Ding, 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 ding. All right. I'm the moderator, not the meter maid.
Okay.
Your 1 minute is up. Marcus Morgan, now here's your 1 minute to talk Asphalt State of the Union. Go ahead.
My 50-cent word for this round is economically challenged, and there's a hyphen between those two.
Ah!
I think economically challenged applies to the racing series, the racing tracks, and the racing teams because of, well, quite honestly, the next several years, we're going to have to figure out how to do things better and smarter to keep our bottom line going in a positive direction, because costs are going up, and that affects everybody, whether you're a fan, whether you're a participant, or whether you're a series. And these tracks desperately need miracles almost to keep racing going sometimes.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. And we're going to try to connect to the man that likes to tell it like it is, from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Langley Austin from Race22.com, the Motorsports Authority. As he did say he's in an area where the phone signal is not the best in the world, so it goes out. Strike one, strike two, and three altogether. All right, guys, I guess we got this segment. 3 different opinions on here. I got another one. John Wessling, what's your thoughts of asphalt racing, buddy? We're not talking about simulation either. We don't want to get Mike on the bandwagon.
Oh, good God.
I don't think I got enough money to put in the meter, Wesley.
That is so wrong! That is so wrong! Y'all are so screwed up. That's you know what? Everything that I was throwing to you, John Wesley, you blew it.
Your parking time is up. Please.
All right, guys, stop it now. Come on, we have to be professional. John, what's your thoughts of asphalt racing, buddy? Seriously though.
I think it's awesome. We broadcast from here on ETV about 5 nights a week. It's awesome.
I'm not talking about simulation. Don't get Mike Neff on his little bandwagon again. Don't get him on his soapbox.
Hey, now, I will chime in on one little point on that, though. It's probably going to be more economically feasible to do sim racing than asphalt racing because you don't have to buy new tires when you're sim racing.
Wow.
That is so wrong.
That's very right.
That is a very valid point, but
big part of the problem with racing today,
Mike,
is that they want you to buy tires. It's fine that you buy tires, but when they're charging you $900 to $1,000 a set, and they make you buy a set and a half or 2 sets of tires, or my God, the snowball. You know how many tires those guys go through?
5.
They have 5 sets for the race. Forget about the 4 days they're down there testing. You seriously have to go down there with a budget somewhere around $30,000 to $50,000 to run that race.
And you only get $30,000 for winning the snowball derby.
That rules. That rules out a lot of your lower tier teams that are looking for that opportunity to make a name for themselves.
Exactly, and that's why
a lot of sim tires right now.
Could we get off the sim stuff, okay?
But there were some guys online arguing when the snowball ended and snowball weekend about the fact that, hey, this is supposed to be the biggest super late model race of the year, and they only had 60-some cars show up. When you run Martinsville, you've got 85 for late models. And
I believe you're talking about
out here before, car count doesn't matter, but still, the reason I think you get more cars at Martinsville than you do for the snowball, when there are probably 5 to 6 times as many super late models in the country as there are late models, is because anybody can go run at Martinsville for enough money to buy a couple sets of tires, maybe 3, and run for the weekend.
I've got
the snowball. I mean, to legitimately run the snowball, you're going to go through 7 or 8 sets of tires.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I got a suggestion I think that they could use in the marketing of getting more teams to participate.
Another one of your 5-0 words?
No. This is just like some of the tire stores do, especially this time of year. You buy 3, you get 1 free. Why can't we do that in racing, Mike?
Exactly. Or you get a free set. Some promoters should get it.
Buy the rubber, get the rim for free. I know they've had that.
Forget who that was a couple years back. It may have been at Kenley. That they were providing, if you raced, you got a free set of tires for everybody that was there. I mean, it didn't matter what division you were in. And that was huge. It's so expensive to race. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether you're running go-karts or a cup team, you're going to spend a bunch of money. You spend more as you go up, but you're still going to spend a bunch of money.
That's right, and I think that's where the sport is going to change. It's going to have to change, and I think we can agree that with everyone being economically challenged, there's going to be those who can and those who can't, and that's going to force the change on the sport.
How about more like the Busch and the ARCA series, where the bigger series only allowed such a lot of tires, every race. I mean, it's probably going to come to that on the big cars too.
Yeah,
my 1 minute State of the Union address on asphalt racing is this. Keep a time. Time me.
Go.
Asphalt racing is in a downward spiral. Dirt racing is on the rise. And I've always said this, and I'm not just saying it because I announce a lot more dirt than asphalt. I love asphalt. I love announcing everything. Alan Phillips coming up to talk about drag racing in a bit as well. We'll have him on our final subject. I love all genres of motorsports, and anybody that loves racing loves all motorsports. You just don't like dirt. You just don't like asphalt. Look, I love NASCAR, but NASCAR is in trouble. But this is, here's the topic, and I wish that I had maybe 2 minutes instead of 1 minute to get this out.
Too bad.
NASCAR has got to figure out a way to make it exciting again for the fans.
Well, that's what they're trying to do with changing the body styles for next year.
But
maybe too little, too late.
This is doing nothing but costing more money, and it's because you spend all this time building the car of tomorrow. Now you've got the car of tomorrow being built.
Time's up.
Let me finish, okay? You went over.
You got a minute.
Let me tell you something, Mitt Romney. You went over.
I ended up right on the dot with my minute.
No, the first segment with Dirk, you went over like a minute.
I'll give you that. I was long.
Give me 30 seconds extra, okay? And I'll end it really quick because I'll talk really fast and I'll get it to this point. NASCAR itself has got to come up with a way to make it more exciting for the fans in the public eye. They've got to figure out a way to make tickets affordable for the fans. They've got to make way accommodations be more affordable. And if they don't do that, Marcus Morgan, NASCAR is going to fumble and plummet. They're not going to go out of business. I don't believe NASCAR is going to go anywhere, but the people, the fans, are going to turn on the sport.
Can I respond to that?
Go ahead.
All right.
Your rebuttal. That's what they call it.
All right. Here's what I see. I see that 50-cent word being applied to the fans as well, economically challenged.
Yes.
That's not going to change over the next few years. So whoever is responsible for making decisions in motorsports, be it a series, a racetrack, the promoters, the teams, the fans, everybody has to look at that bottom line, and everybody's affected by gas prices and tire prices and
hotel accommodations, food, everything.
And how many times have you or I, Mike, I know you've experienced this. You go to a weekend event, and where you could have stayed for $69, $79 a night, all of a sudden you're at $149 a night.
Yep.
Okay, how is it that
price gouging
that we're not forming a better opportunity for those folks in the industry they're making more money because they're getting more nights from us. Why do we get charged more?
Mike Neff, your rebuttal.
Don't get me wrong. I completely agree. I think it should be against the law for a hotel to raise their prices more than 10% at any time. But I understand it in some limited situations.
And we're not just singling this out on hotels either. This is everything.
It's a
places like Martinsville and like Bristol. So you are in an isolated area, and the only time you really make money at your establishment is on those 2 cup weekends a year.
But come on, not Concord, not Daytona.
Supply and demand. I
understand why they jack the prices up, because that's when they're going to make their money, and that's the only time they're going to make their money. But at the same time, it's not fair to the fans, and I really think, and I know Bruton's done it in the past, he's tried to work with area hotels and actually done whatever he does to reimburse them a little bit or help them so that they don't jack their prices up so bad. So I think that hotels and restaurants and bars and campgrounds and everybody around racetracks needs to work in conjunction with the promoters to try and make the racing weekends as interesting and as amenable to clients and customers coming in as possible.
Well, I got a solution.
Let me add, and then I'll go in there. Go ahead.
I got a solution. Okay, if all of these racetracks, but I'm just using NASCAR as an example because they're doing package deals now. All the racetracks, if you get your tickets, you've heard of the $99 special, and you get to go to the qualifying and everything else, right? Okay, so
4 races for $99.
Why is it that you can't get that package and also get a discount for the hotels in the area? Why isn't people aren't working to create a better value for the fans, because fans can't afford it, so they're not going to go?
Because I know that there are package deals, at least in Charlotte, And I believe there were at Kentucky this year too.
Well, they definitely need to please people in Kentucky because they pissed them off in 2011.
I think they might do it in Atlanta too, where you actually can do a deal where you get your hotel room and the race tickets and some food and all that.
Guys,
kind of
but
stuff
you know what?
there.
Here's one thing that we ain't even talked about. And this happened right at the beginning of the year for NASCAR. A prime time NASCAR race. It was a ballpark home run to run the Daytona 500 on a Monday night. Monday Night NASCAR is what a lot of people called it in the Associated Press. And you look at the schedule, and you look at the race events.
It might be good for TV ratings. It's sure not good for track promoters.
You know what though? But let me tell you something. And it's just like what Langley was talking about with Bob Lutz at Myrtle Beach Speedway.
Monday Night Football.
You might need to step out of the box and try something new.
Well, I agree.
Look at Myrtle Beach. They have realized that and from announcing many races this year,
Thursday Night Thunder, how popular that was.
Exactly. Thursday Night Thunder with the USAC Midgets at Indianapolis Raceway Park. John, that's right in your back door.
How about the Hooters Pro Cup Series that ran on Thursday nights and were successful for so long?
NASCAR had a successful event on primetime Monday with the Daytona 500. Go ahead.
You don't have 60 or 70 or 80,000 people show up for Thursday Night Thunder or a Hooters race. And you need 70 or more thousand people to show up for a cup race to even break even.
Well,
and if you're going to run on a Monday night, you better be running in Chicago or Atlanta or Los Angeles to draw from a big enough fan base that can make that one-day event and be back at work on Tuesday.
Well, how does football do it on Monday night and Thursday nights? I mean, there you go. There's the example.
Because they've got season ticket holders. And you've got the season
you don't have
ticket
people that travel with season tickets to NASCAR races. I mean, they send stuff in the mail to you all the time. Renew your tickets for the Coca-Cola 600 or the All-Star race or the Daytona 500.
Yep.
Come on, Mike.
You don't have 100,000, 160,000 people that are within the Charlotte area that are going to a cup race.
I really believe that you've got to step outside the box, Mike and Marcus. Yeah. I really believe that NASCAR is got to come up with things.
Free parking.
And I'll say this, free parking. Yes, absolutely. Something else
How many times you go to a race and you get
out
$15 to $25 to park your car?
Yes. And it's not just racing though. That happens in football. That happens in baseball.
Spend money to park.
Mike, I'm talking. You're talking for me.
I agree, Mike.
I was answering Marcus's question.
I agree.
All right, what did you say? Go ahead.
I said I don't pay to park. I'm a cheap bastard, and I will walk a long way before I pay to park.
Yeah.
What you do?
I've been trying to convince Wesley that's the way to go on that deal.
That's the way to go. Yeah, absolutely. Don't. Hey, can I say something else in closing? Because we got Alan Phillips coming up here for drag racing.
I got to say something else once you get done talking.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to let you finish.
Go ahead. I insist.
Okay. Thinking outside the box. I wrote a column on this earlier this year. They wouldn't do it every week, but 5 or 6 weeks out of the year, NASCAR could run a Wednesday night race. What they would do
I remember that, yeah.
You get a situation like you run Indy and Pocono on back-to-back weekends. At Indianapolis, you run through the tech process with your car for wherever you're going to go to on Wednesday night. It is put into the back of the hauler, a seal is put on the back door, and they drive it to Toledo or Flat Rock or Mansfield or wherever, somewhere in Pennsylvania on the way to Pocono, and they pull the trailers in, and on Wednesday morning they cut the seals off the back. You roll the car out, you qualify it, you race it, you do a post-race tech inspection for the handful of cars that finish in the top 3 or the top 5, and then you head on to Pocono and you do your next deal. You would eliminate the whole technical inspection process, which brings in so much cost and so much time and effort for the teams and for NASCAR, and you'd be able to run a one-day show at a local short track for a Wednesday night deal for a NASCAR race.
And can I tell you something else that I've seen as well, Marcus and Mike? and we'll close this subject. Because coming up, Alan Phillips to talk drag racing with us to end our 2012 season on And the Winner Is. But hang on, I don't never get to say nothing.
Go right ahead.
Hey,
Meter maid.
Go out and
Meter maid.
yeah, kiss it. Go out and support your grassroots tracks.
Absolutely.
Amen.
You've got to support. One thing that I have to recommend.
Stars of Tomorrow.
Yes,
That's where they're at.
NASCAR 4. I have to give them I'm trying to think of the word. Kudos and respect is
Very
they
nice,
have really
Marcus.
tried to
We
represent
get
the
25 cents
NASCAR
piece on that. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're both
home
giving them a 50
tracks.
cent word.
Shut up, Mike. They have really tried to represent the NASCAR home tracks program. Go out and support your local racetrack, whether it's asphalt, dirt, drag, karting, road course. It does not matter, because these grassroots tracks is the setting bar, the stepping ground and stables of what the next generation drivers are going to be. In closing, on this subject, I would like to say in regards to NASCAR, I wish that NASCAR, in a whole, would think of a better way to entertain the crowd. And I'm not talking about the crowds that are already there seeing the 300 laps or 500 miles around the racetrack, because that's NASCAR's stars' job to put on the show. I'm talking about before. I'm talking about those fans that come in and they camp and they tailgate and they're having their own little party. But what about when the gates open up at 9 o'clock in the morning on a race day that's going to be at night at Charlotte or Bristol or Martinsville or whatever? You're sitting down for 6-7 hours in the grandstands. Of course, you've done all your checking PR swag and meeting all the drivers and the meet and greets and all that. Track promoters have got to think of a way to entertain the crowd.
That's part of the value.
Humpy Wheeler got it. He figured it out.
Yeah.
And he was the only guy that I ever saw of any of the other NASCAR tracks I ever traveled to
Bang
that
for your buck.
gave you your bang for your buck.
right.
When you got there, you saw Chris Marino fly through the air and crash over cars. You saw the man walk a tightrope on a wire. You saw the Joey Chitwood stunt show. You saw
I agree.
Legends car racing. You saw the Thunder Roadsters. You've seen all of these creations. You saw NHRA drag car, funny car roar down the front straightaway. You've seen the reenactment of the Battle of Grenada. That's one of Humpy Wheeler's favorite things he ever did.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of tracks you go to, guys, you sit there for 6-7 hours, and yes, I'm an announcer, and I love my job, but you have to talk and talk. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, watch now the Sprint Vision screen as you see more pre-race entertainment. You're seeing races from the past. There's got to be something, Mike Neff, that's going on to spark the interest and the attention of the crowd while they're waiting for the green flag to drop. Do you agree?
Oh, completely agree. I mean, there's... again, I think that's part of where they may start going to heat races. Because that makes it easier on the promoters, and they don't have to come up with the red hot chili peppers or... Who's the guy off of the Voice?
What'd you say, Preppers? Mike the Prepper?
That's a new
That's your new nickname, fella, Mike the Prepper.
Who was the country dude that they had that's off Voice? Blake Shelton, thank you very much.
Blake Shelton, yes.
You know, they have him come in and do a concert beforehand. And like you said, they have guys on tight ropes, the guys getting shot out of cannons and stuff blowing up. And I mean, Charlotte gets it more than any other track, I think. Other tracks do follow along, but honestly, I think
I give an example, and I know NASCAR. We got to close this subject.
I like Mike's
would be
idea.
better served if
Give
they had
race
more
fans
access
more
to
racing.
drivers
Absolutely.
in the pre-race. I think every driver should have to sign autographs for 1 hour to people that stand in a line without having to get a bracelet or buy a book or buy a car or something.
We got to close this subject.
I agree. More racing.
A prime example to end this. Saturday, Marcus is at my house for the holidays. We watched the 1992 version of the All-Star race at Charlotte. Marcus,
First time under the lights.
First time under the lights. But not only did they have the NASCAR All-Star race, where Davey Allison and Kyle Petty went crashing across the finish line when the checkers fell to decide the winner of the event. But they had the Sportsman Series. They had the NASCAR Sportsman Series running a 100-miler event. You had the legend cars putting on a show.
That's from my days.
Exactly. They don't do that anymore.
No.
That's what they need to do. You need to support. I'm going to tell you something. Guys like the Rev Oil Pro Cup Series, Jack McNeely, the schedule got released today. I got to give him big kudos, Mike Neff, because with a tough economy, with that series struggling, with only having 8 or 9 cars like they had last year, now they are, he's paying $10,000 to win for every event next year for 14 races on the schedule.
I'm putting a cage in Blue Thunder. We're going racing.
You leave my car alone.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, we're going to $10,000? Are you kidding me? We could fix Blue Thunder up like nobody's business.
Jack's a good guy. He's been working real hard to keep that series going, and I tell you what, if they could ever get back on TV, it'd be awesome.
If they would do something like that at Charlotte like they used to do and bring in a preliminary series.
Sure.
They used to do it at Bristol.
Sure.
Then they made it all about the modifieds and the trucks. And by the way, Mike, we're not even going to discuss the modifieds because that is just... Okay, real quickly, 1 minute. What is your thoughts of the modifieds for NASCAR? Because they're definitely in trouble with everybody I spoke to after
I
Imus.
can think about on that. It's NASCAR's trying to, in typical fashion, NASCAR's trying to make things more economically feasible for people, and they're driving people away because you got guys that are trying to run built engines, and NASCAR is trying to push their spec engine deal. And ultimately, yes, it would be cheaper in the long run, but getting there is going to be expensive. And I don't know. It's similar to the seat deal. They told them last year that they were going to phase in the expensive seat, and now they've come out and said this year, okay, you're going to have it. It wasn't like a 5-year phase in or something. And there aren't a lot of guys out there that can spend $5,000 on a seat.
True, yeah, very true.
It's in trouble.
Well, here's what's going on.
30 seconds.
There's a transformation going to take place, and whoever's at the lead of that transformation is going to be the winner at the other end. And I think it's going to be a combination of different things that we've talked about tonight, but ultimately it all comes back to who can figure out the right way to solve the economically challenged equation.
Absolutely. Bring the bell, John Westling. That is the end of the State of the Union address for motorsports on asphalt racing. When we come back, we will now go from going in circles to...
straight circles?
To what?
From going in straight circles?
We're going to go from going in circles to now straight line. Alan Phillips to discuss drag racing in that State of the Union coming up after the break. Final segment of the season finale of AndTheWinnerIs Motorsports Show. By the way, don't forget, join me and Michael Keaton, Dakota Ehrman on Pit Road tonight, 9:30 Eastern. It is
seriously?
the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series Icebreaker
wait.
Winter Series
Pit Road?
tonight on ETV. Do what, Mike?
You have a pit road reporter for your sim show?
Yes, we do. John,
my God.
let's go to commercial before he gets in his soapbox again. Final break. Alan Phillips after the break. We'll be right back on ETV. And the winner is...
If you're in the dirt, then grab a cold one, sit down, shut up, and strap
Over the
in,
next
Cowboys.
10 weeks,
Sunday nights on
10
ETV Live
tracks,
and
10
ETV Live
drivers,
Radio, Sim
and
Pro
over
Racing
20,000
featured Lucas
horsepower.
Oil
In the
Power
end,
midgets,
pro
one
drivers
champion,
all over
live on
Australia.
ETV
600
Live and
horsepower,
ETV
lean,
Live
mean,
Radio,
dirt
Real
slinging
Sim
machine.
Racing 2011
Every
Full
Sunday night
Throttle
live
Cup
at
Series,
9:20 p.m. on
Chase
the
to the
Dirt
Checkers,
Channel.
ETV Live
Sponsored by
and
Bob
ETV Live
Radio.
Radio, Don't miss this one, Monday nights at 9 p.m.
stay
Eastern on
home.
ETV Live and ETV Live Radio, ETV-eplay.net, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and Windows Media Guide. We'll see you there.
The fever. Intense. NASCAR racing experience. The authentic racing experience. Packages start at just $329. Thrilling. Yeah. The rush. The NASCAR racing experience. Call 1-877-RACE-LAP today.
Coming up tonight live on ETV Live and ETV Live Radio, Real Sim Racing's Full Throttle Cup Series. Join Michael Keaton and Devin Smirker from the booth with reports and live updates from Pit Road by Dakota Ehrman and the ETV Live Pit Road crew. Live on ETV Live tonight at 9:20 p.m. on the Star Car channel and ETV Live Radio, Real Sim Racing's Full Throttle Cup Series. ETV-eplay.net. We'll see you there.
Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, conveniently located off of intersection I-81 and I-77 in Withville, Virginia. Services all of Southwest Virginia in residential, farms, recreational, and commercial properties. The company is owned by Jason and Judy Short. Judy has been in the real estate market for over 15 years and is the broker of Shortway Real Estate. And they have two of the top agents in Southwest Virginia. Their goal is simple: to provide the best customer service and build business on repeat clients. You can get pre-approvals in less than 20 minutes. They have many properties located on over 300 websites nationwide. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for customer service guaranteed. And guess what? Licensed in Virginia, they can show you any property listed in the Commonwealth state. They're located at 1205 East Main Street in Withville, Virginia. For more details, call 276-223-4018. That's 276-223-4018. Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, reminding you, take the short way home. Welcome back to the December 17th edition of And the Winner Is Motorsports Show, a broadcast of the ETV Live Online Auto Sports Entertainment Network. I am Wesley Outland, the ringmaster of motorsports. Joining me alongside from Four Oaks, the madman himself of Marcus Morgan, former NASCAR sportsman, crew chief, and Cup Series mechanic, and now the CEO of LightningFast.com. Follow him online at LightningFast on Facebook as well as on Twitter. And they are a green products company. And before we go off the air, we'll let him talk a little bit about that company. And back in Kannapolis, the racing devil, the smart aleck himself, Mike Neff. John running the boards in Indianapolis, Indiana. We now go from talking dirt track racing and asphalt racing in our 2012 State of the Union Motorsports Address to now talking about straight line go fast. And on the show, one of the most respected veteran announcers in the sport of drag racing. He's been a promoter. He's been a driver. He's now an announcer from Alan Phillips from Southport, North Carolina. Alan, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, how you doing today?
Only you would continue that trend.
That's my one deal. I won't say it again. I just had to get that little. But you know I've been listening. Just how about that?
Okay.
You know I've been listening.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that.
brother.
Alan, 2 minutes. What is your thoughts of drag racing as 2012 ends and goes into 2013?
Well, 2 minutes is a very short time to try to talk about. Listen, you guys, you're really talking about two things when you're talking about the health of the sport. You're talking about the participants, the sponsors, three things: the participants, the sponsors, and fans. And when it all comes down to it, you're talking about money. On the national level of drag racing, we, for the first time in a while, there was one field of the pro cars, the nitro cars, that wasn't filled at one of the events this year in NHRA, the top level of the sport. They normally have 16 or 17 cars on the ground. They went to Indy at 22 or 23, I think it was, and Indy is the biggest drag racing event in the world. So it tells you that the sport of drag racing, as well as round track racing, they're in the same boat. Economic times are tight. Sponsors are very hard to get, and they're very hard to keep. It's very hard for racers to afford to go to big events and do big things. So, you've got that financial, and I think until the economy improves and, people feel more comfortable about what they're doing, there are a lot of race cars I know that are parked, that are sitting in the trailers or sitting in the garage and aren't going anywhere. Or if they do go, they pick selected races. They don't go every week. They pick a selected race, and generally, it's close to home. We've seen a few traveling. Like Florida is busy right now with a bunch of drag races, not national level races, but a bunch of races down in Moroso and stuff.
Right.
So if you got a racetrack down I-95, don't drop off on the way down to Florida and run at your racetrack like they did at Fayetteville last weekend. We had a big crowd. We had a great crowd of cars, but that was because there were cars from Maine that were running with us. And the only reason they were there,
They had nowhere else to go.
95. Well, you turn off the 95, and in 3 minutes, literally in 3 minutes, you're at Fayetteville Drag Strip.
Absolutely.
There's a dirt track there, you guys know.
Definitely. Right near the dirt, yeah.
So literally, there's literally 3 minutes to 95. By the way, the dirt track hasn't been real busy this year over there. So, let's go back to the subject. The status of it is that it's all about money right now. Money's tight for everybody. I heard somebody say earlier that they think that you guys are doing heat races and truck nationwide and cup later on and run heat races and then go to the main event. My personal opinion is, and I'm not a real track racer, tell me I'm wrong, my personal opinion is that's never going to happen. And I'll tell you why it's going to happen. Because you are never going to let a major sponsor's car have a bad day, let's say Jimmy Johnson of Lowe Chevrolet, and not get in the main event. You're not going to do that. You're not going to let a sponsor do that. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. And there's always bright spots. In drag racing, there's some bright spots. In round track racing, look at Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem. Have you looked at the spectator attendance of that place every week? They have 10,000 people every week in that stadium for asphalt racing.
And the racing sucks.
Why is that, though? Why is that, Mike Neff?
The fan.
I will never understand why that is. Because they are the worst promoters in the history of the sport. They pay for crap. They have no technology whatsoever. They still manually score their races. But the bottom line is it's Bowman Gray. And the fans show up for it. But we heard Langley talk about it a couple weeks ago. I'll never be able to explain it. There have been racetracks within 30 miles of Winston-Salem that have tried Friday nights and tried Sundays and paid 3 times as much as Bowman Gray does and had as many or more cars show up, and they'll get 500 people to show up for it. I'll never understand why they show up to Bowman Gray other than the fact that it's just a historical place, and that's what you do on a summer Saturday night in Winston-Salem.
Marcus Morgan?
Well, I was just saying, thinking back, look at Ace Speedway. Ace Speedway's always had to struggle, with fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, too, and Alan, like you discussed, it doesn't matter whether it's drag racing, dirt racing, asphalt racing. The economy in a whole itself is affecting any genre of motorsports. But as I stated at the end of the asphalt segment, you've got, as fans, you've got to go out, you have got to support these grassroots racetracks because, sadly, we are losing more racetracks than we're getting new ones on a day-to-day basis, year after year.
I think statistics show, Wesley, that we lost this year more racetracks than we've ever lost in 1 year.
Yes.
Yeah. You look at you guys. Let's talk about racetracks, and we'll talk about fan entry one time. Racetracks in North Carolina. What have you got? Maybe 8 or 9 active racetracks.
Yeah.
In North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right. You know how many drag strips there are active? There are 22.
But where do the names of them though? I mean, the only drag strips that I can think of, Coastal Plains, Dunn Benson, Brewers, the Fayetteville,
Red Spring 710, Charlotte, of course. Asheville's got one. Go look online. Just Google the active drag strips in North Carolina. Get the list of them.
But how come they're not getting the national? How come they're not getting the exposure at some of these other marquee events and tracks you just mentioned?
Money. They don't have the sponsorship. They don't have the sponsors to go out there. I mean, who's going to sponsor a drag strip over in Red Springs that much? Out in Lumberton, out in the middle of nowhere. It's all about the dollars. Who can have the dollars and all that stuff? And let's talk. We were talking about fans and stuff. And I know we're kind of jumping around here because we're short on time. We could have a really good roundtable about this.
We could probably go about 5 or 10 minutes over if we had to.
Let's look at a racing series that was recently sold back to the guy who started it. Kenny Nolan started a racing series called the ADRL, the American Drag Racing League.
Yes, very popular.
You know why it was popular? First of all, with the racers, it was popular because it was heads up. There are no bracket racing. There's no handicap racing. It is run what you brung for the class and hope you brought enough.
Right.
It's heads up, first one there.
That's
okay? And the other thing is free fan entry. The fans didn't pay anything.
They walked in free. So what happened was
You just
you
paid a
had all
parking
those people
fee.
you might not even pay a parking fee.
Right.
And what the help was, they would use the concession stands and do that, and buy stuff from the sponsors. But after a while, Kenny got pushed out by the family. One of those deals.
Yeah.
And it was taken over. It was taken over by the group. And then they ended up starting to charge. They had to start charging because they were losing their cannolis. They were losing everything.
Right.
They had to start charging.
You can say ass if you want to.
Cannolis. I'm hungry now.
They were losing their butts. And so what they did is they started charging. And what they had found out was the race fans that came in for free finally realized that what they started doing was they were bringing their coolers and their and that stuff, and they were going back to their cars to eat.
Wow.
And they weren't buying any souvenirs.
Exactly.
So they weren't. So all they were doing, they were making it look good for sponsors. But the truth was, the fans weren't doing anything but tearing up the facility.
Right.
So it all comes down to the sponsorships and how to get the sponsorships. And we're kind of jumping all over. Let's talk about sponsorship and NHRA at the top level.
Well, I was going to ask you, how has the year been for the top national tier series like NHRA and IHRA?
IHRA doesn't have a much of a top level as far as fuel cars. They have more of a show.
Right.
And nobody will argue with that. They have more of a booked-in show almost. They'll have 3 or 4 fuel cars, and they're the same guys at the same races every weekend. And then they have a great sportsman program. Their sportsman program is doing really well. NHRA, let's see Top Fuel. Top Fuel and Funny Car. Don Schumacher has 25% of the Top Fuel field and 25% of the Funny Car field with the number of cars he has. Guess what? John Force has 25% of the Funny Car field. He has 4 cars, and they always qualify. So between 2 car owners and his sponsorships, they have half of the field.
Wow.
So again, you're talking about sponsorships. So back to the bottom line is, I know we haven't made a lot of sense. We need to have a long roundtable about this. If you
We
really
would
want to talk
definitely
about it.
have
The
you
bottom
back
line
on
is,
in 2013 to talk about drag racing. That's definitely a subject I'd like to cover.
It all comes down to money.
Yeah, there you go. There's two things that rule the world. I say that to everybody, and it's the truth: love and money. Those are the 2 things that are you can trace everything that happens in the world back to love or money. And drag racing sponsorship, round track racing sponsorship, it's all about money. And there's a lot of local guys that didn't show up for Fayetteville. They came out and watched. They couldn't afford to run their cars.
Right.
The cars are sitting home in the trailer. So again, until the economy gets better, you watch the stock market, you'll start seeing more racers, you'll start seeing some. But for the next few years, I think it's going to be like this. And with 22 racetracks in North Carolina alone, drag racing is going to have a tough road to hoe in this state. Across the nation on the national level, it's not an easy road. It's not an easy road to hoe. We don't have many of the start and park because we don't have that type of a deal. But look at NASCAR. How many start and park teams you guys have now?
Yeah.
At a NASCAR race. I mean,
absolutely.
That's because they make money by running 20 or 30 or 40 laps and going in the pit area and loading up and going home.
Loading up and go to the next one.
So,
You're exactly right.
Yep.
Definitely.
So the bottom line is the state of the union in drag racing is money is tough to come by, and there's really 2 separate divides right now: those who have it and those who don't.
Go ahead and finish.
I was saying, and that's the way it is right now. And the ones who don't have it aren't racing as much, and the ones who don't have it are the spectators that are not coming to the racetracks. I mean, look at Bristol. One more thing: Bristol Dragway had their big fall race that they have there every year that's put on. $20,000 to win on Saturday.
The foot brake.
10 on Sunday. Yeah, no. This was full race.
Oh, okay.
This was all the big cars.
Okay.
This was all the top. Okay. You know how many spectators they had in the stands on Sunday? I was looking at it because they had it live on TV. They had 2 spectators in the stands.
Wow.
At Bristol Dragway.
But you know what, though, Alan, we've seen that because there's been plenty times in years past where me and you have announced races together, big shows, big money shows, and you've always said, Wesley, the crowd's not going to be here. And Ronnie Humphrey or other promoters, Brian Williams and Roger and Stuart Williams and all the folks there, they know that. Well, of course, when you had the pro mods come to town, that's what I could never figure out is announcing at announcing at Dunbenson on numerous occasions. You know, you come in on a Thursday night for street legal drags, and it's standing room only with a crowd of people. Well, when the Pro Mods come into town or the IHRA Pro-Am Tour comes to town, you've got a packed, sold-out crowd. But whenever you go back to your regular bracket racing program, Alan, you don't have no butts in the seats whatsoever. And another thing that people need to realize when we close this subject, drag racing's a lot different than asphalt or dirt racing. Of course, yes, you pay your entry fees, you do all these things, but drag racers in general, Alan, they pay to compete. They pay to race.
Oh, yeah, they pay to race. Oh, absolutely. They pay an entry fee every race. Oh, absolutely. Very few do you ever have somebody putting on a special show, and when they do, guess who's backing it up? A sponsor. A sponsor puts the dollars up. You can rest assured there's not a drag strip out there putting on a show with free entry for the races and not having somebody else foot the bill. And by the way, one more thing, you just mentioned Dunbenson. Dunbenson is one of the 3 or 4 tracks around that is for sale.
Absolutely, yes.
Roger Williams, the Williamses have learned that all that money they put down, all that stuff, didn't do them any good. So, you know, it's right now, the state of the union drag racing is money's tight, and everybody's fighting for survival and trying to do what they can to survive. And there are no standout drag strips that I'm aware of that are getting the crowd every weekend. Even Charlotte, the full wide deal.
Yes, absolutely.
They don't get anybody hardly.
Yes, you're exactly right.
So.
And
anyway,
I know Lenny Baticki very well from Charlotte. I know Lenny Baticki very well. I've actually had the privilege to do some announcing at ZMAX Dragway, and you're right. It just really puzzles me that Marcus Morgan, you can go to a street legal drag show and have a standing room only crowd, or you know, of course they love the Pro Mods because it's the big shows, but you go to a regular bracket racing program like the NOS Test and Tune racing bracket show at ZMAX. This is a nationally a national landmark, and people love ZMAX. They love to go there for the NHRA events. They created the 4 wide nationals there, but there's no crowd.
But here's the thing. This transcends every form of motorsports. It's the economy, stupid.
Yes, it does.
It's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's it.
Well, it's more than just
Morgan, that's his name. You're 100% correct. It's the economy, and as long as it's the way it is, as long as the economy continues to stumble and not move forward in a positive fashion, it's going to be this way.
But Alan, I know it's more than the economy, Mike Neff, and I'll throw it to you back here in a second because we got to wrap things up. But Alan, it's like I stated, though. We know the economy sucks. We all get it. But you've got to support your grassroots racetracks because if you don't, they're not going to make it. These fans have got to go out there and support them.
Wesley, they've got to support their kids.
That's right.
They've got to support their house payment. They got to support. Okay, hey, then with the economy stuff, all the jobs that went away, all the jobs that aren't paying like they used to and stuff. The racing is way on the back burner. So do I agree with that sentiment? Yeah, support the local tracks. Is it a reality right now in today's economy? No, it's not.
But let me ask you a question then before we throw it back to Mike.
What's that?
Do y'all sadly feel, and I hate to use this word, but do you feel with the way things are going, and if things continue the way they're going, racing's going to die?
No, I think it's going to change. It's going to have to change. It's going to have to get caught up with the economic times.
So to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Promoters are going to have to work harder and smarter, and tracks are going to have to create more value for fans.
Go ahead, Mike Neff.
Yeah, and I used to enjoy drag racing, and I've had this argument with Wesley before that Eddie Hill killed drag racing for me. Because Eddie Hill came up with the whole methodology of not shifting gears in a top fuel car. And that is why I don't go to drag races anymore, because I love pro stocks and I love motorcycles because it's a driver's race. You still have to drive, you still have to shift gears, you still have to drive it down the track. In funny car and top fuel, they know when they wheel up to the line based on the parts per million of air and water grains and all this crap, exactly what they're going to run within a couple thousandths of a second before they drop the hammer. And unless something catastrophic happens, that's exactly what they run. And
it comes down to cubic dollars at that point, don't it?
Alan, I
don't agree with that.
Thoughts on it? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't agree with that completely. Fuel cars Yeah, they don't, and Eddie Hill didn't do it, by the way. Fuel cars, yeah, they don't shift gears and all that stuff. But I'm going to tell you, a car that knows better what it's going to run before it goes down the racetrack is a pro stock car. You can go get in a pro stock car, and the driver's going to tell you within 3 or 4 thousandths what that car's going to run.
Exactly
as
right.
long as it's right. He can tell you exactly what that car is going to run, and most of the time, it's going to hook.
And it's about the
Hook
tree
means
as well.
it's going to get traction.
Right.
Yep.
And it's going to
I'll
go.
give you that.
A fuel car, a top fuel car or a funny car, those guys, if it hooks up and goes straight and they've got guessed the clutch right and all that stuff, they have an idea where it's going to go within maybe 4 or 5 hundredths or a tenths. But when it starts when they start to lose the tires, those guys are busier than anybody in the cockpit trying to keep that car under control. If you watch a fuel car blow the tires off of it,
Right.
So
But if that
a bracket
happens,
car
they're
now,
done.
a bracket car, those guys line up now. I mean, I can teach you guys bracket racing. Those guys line up now.
This is
and
a
they
whole
don't
other
move a button.
subject. This is a whole other
Yeah.
subject.
Yeah,
So
you don't even want to get in bracket
I can
racing,
tell you
'cause I
within
think
a
that's
couple of
just
thousandths
stupid.
of a second what they're going to run every time, and they'll do it every time.
That's why you never announce
So-
on the PA what the other guy's reaction time is or dial-in is,
That's
because
right.
they're 9 times out of 10,
That's
Alan,
right.
and you taught me this personally, they're listed on them FM transmitters.
Well, guys, this has been great. I'm looking forward to this next year. I hope we can all get back together and talk about it. huh?
Absolutely. Marcus,
Let's have
definitely.
let's have a nice long one where we can all slow down and actually talk about things without trying to cover stuff.
I'll
so
tell you
fast.
what,
And
Alan
then-
Phillips, I'll make you a deal. 2013, within the first month of January, we will have a 2-hour edition about nothing but
That sounds
drag
good.
racing, and we can talk about all this stuff and hash it out.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I would love that.
That sounds real
Definitely.
I'm
good.
good with that.
All right. Well, Alan, buddy, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you being on. Merry Christmas.
Merry
and happy-
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys, and thanks for having me, Wesley. I appreciate it. Surprise call, but I appreciate it very much.
No,
Thanks
definitely,
for being
man. We'll
on,
definitely
brother.
get together and do a 2-hour edition to talk drag racing after the holidays. You got my word.
You got it. Let's do it. Talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
Alan Phillips,
care.
longtime
Merry Christmas.
veteran announcer, historian in drag racing. Mike Neff, buddy, we got to get off the air here in about 2 minutes. Your final as we close the first season of And the Winner Is, preparing for an even bigger and better year in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question racing has its challenges facing ahead of it, but it's still one of the coolest things there is, and it still makes my heart beat faster every time I see a green flag fly in the air. And I appreciate the sacrifices and the effort that drivers and teams put out there to run at local short tracks every week. And I hope they all figure out a way to make it to the track next year, because I love watching them do what they do.
Marcus Morgan.
I agree, Mike. And, racers of all genres are part of the fabric of America. And I think that if we lose any of them, we're hurting America. And I just want to say that whatever we got to do to keep things moving forward, we need to figure it out so that we don't lose any of them. And I appreciate you guys having me on here a couple times, and look forward to being with you maybe next year.
Well, I just want to say in closing of 2012 that, of course, it was a very emotional time when we first came on the air tonight with everything that's happened. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre shooting. But of course, once we got the show started, we got into the flow of things. We talked about racing. We talked about life. We talked about the love of the sport. We had guys like Alan Phillips on. We apologize we couldn't get Langley and Ben on. Ben had already been at the gym. Langley had some tech issues as far as with his cell phone coverage, so we couldn't have him on. But I will say in closing that this is exactly what we have to do after a tragedy of that magnitude, to continue to go on and live on our lives. Even though it's sad, you can never forget, but you have to all of a sudden have to let go and move on with your day-to-day lives. Forgive, but don't forget. And, of course, in conclusion of 2012, I have thoroughly enjoyed, Mike Neff, working with you. We have come from leaps and bounds starting this deal on Ustream, having a bunch of tech issues, being madder than 40 blazing at each other sometimes and at the equipment, wanting to throw it out the window. But now we have hooked up with great people like J.D. Webb and John Westling and Dakota Ehrman and everybody at ETV. They have given us an open forum to do a radio show. There are so many different ways of tuning in and listening to it, even going to the archives, going to the replays. We love and thank the world of everybody here at ETV, and I'm definitely looking forward to 2013. And my final quote for this on the State of the Union Motorsports Address is this. We all spoke about it, the economy. We know that you have jobs. We know that you have kids. We know you have lives, and we know you have bills. I have these as well as anyone else in this great country. But for our sport to survive and flourish and make it, we have got to support the grassroots drivers that want to pursue the dreams of being the next NASCAR stars of tomorrow. And I'm not just talking about a race car driver. I'm talking about the next announcer, because I can't do it forever. The next PR writer like Mike Neff. The next mechanic like Marcus Morgan done in the Cup Series. Or even other top positions, whether being a tech official, an inspector, a scorer. They are out there. They're the future. We've got to keep it alive, because if we don't, this sport will change as we know it. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. 2012 in the books. Enjoy this Christmas season with your family, as I and Mike Neff will. Thank you to John Wessling. Everybody here at ETV Live and the Winner Is Motorsports Show says Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We love you, and we'll see you for even better and exciting And the Winner Is in 2013. As I always leave, good night and God bless. Mike?
Thank you.